Okay, great. So today, the topic of the meditation is going to be working with the somatic field. So, quite often, the guided meditations that I do are sort of non-doing meditations, more like a self-inquiry. So this one today is more of an active meditation, or it will start out with an aspect of doing. So we're going to be working with sensation, we're going to be working with the somatic field. Soma in Greek actually just means body, but in Sanskrit it's connected to this idea of sort of bliss, or it actually means distilling essence, sort of intoxication or bliss. So both of those sort of etymologies are relevant here. So we're going to be observing the body. We're going to be observing the raw sensations, the subtle sensations arising on the body. But we'll be going deeper. We'll be coming to, you could say, the pranic layer, or the energy layer, as we surrender our preferences to these sensations. So as we observe the body, we'll be observing the sensations in a way that they're not good or bad. We're just purely observing and allowing. And this single pointedness and equanimity leads us deeper and deeper into the somatic field. This is very similar to Vipassana meditation, but also I'm going to be exploring our relationship to the practice itself. So we'll be observing who is meditating as well. We'll be very aware of what we're doing in this practice. We don't want to be seeking something in the future, some result, or trying to make something happen. So there's a very subtle relationship with this practice that I'm going to explore and try to make clear, so that we're not activating the seeker, so that we're not simply doing something with the conditioned mind, but we're actually sort of dismantling that seeker, or letting go of that seeker. So working with the somatic field can be done in many different ways. The approach that I like is very simple. This comes from the teachings of the Buddha. This is one approach that the Buddha taught for meditation. This comes from the Anapanasati Sutra. So we'll just start by observing the natural breath. Just whatever is happening with the breath, just let it be exactly as it is in this moment. So just get a sense of how the body is breathing in this moment. Just tune into the body. So it doesn't matter if the breath is deep or shallow. Just notice the way that the body is breathing in this moment. We'll just do this for a few moments. Just notice the mind's tendency to control the breath in any way. And to the best that you can, just let go of any controlling of the breath. Notice if there's any effort to control. Notice if there's any effort to let go of control as well. So even the letting go of control can be a form of control. The mind might think it has to do something or get involved. So as we observe the breath, the mind can be kind of like the aperture of a camera. It can focus narrowly or it can focus widely. There are many different ways to do this practice, but today we can observe widely. We can observe the entire body as it's breathing. So on the in-breath, you can just be aware of all the sensations throughout the body. On the out-breath, likewise, be aware of all the sensations throughout the body. This practice is extremely simple. The breath is already happening. We're simply observing this pulsation, this expansion and contraction. We may be aware of the physical sensations or the gross sensations, the most observable sensations, like the air going in and out of the lungs. Maybe you notice the rise and fall of the belly. Maybe you can feel the breath energetically as it moves through every part of the body. Everyone will be tuned in a different way. depending on their practice and experience. So we're not looking to achieve anything in particular with the looking, just observing reality as it is in this moment for you. Not trying to manufacture some energetic experience, just purely observing, letting everything be exactly as it is. We don't want to miss any sensation, no matter how subtle. So within the gross physical movements, physical expansion and contraction created by the air, there may be subtle movements, the subtle impulse of the body to take that next breath. Just notice if there's a sense that you're taking the breath, or if you're being taken by the breath. Just totally let go of all choosing, all doing. When I say let go, sometimes the mind interprets that as there's something to do. So even let go of letting go. Let everything be as it is. Everything already is as it is. There's nothing for the mind, the conditioned mind, to add. The only thing that we're choosing or doing in this practice at the beginning is observing. We're choosing to observe sensations throughout the body on the in-breath, sensations throughout the body on the out-breath. Just allowing ourselves to come to the natural state. So in the natural state, there is no more choosing. When we become stable in the natural state, at the beginning it takes effort. But eventually, the process of meditating, the meditator, the meditation are all just one thing. It's all just being with what is. So we're starting with a conditioned practice, but we move to the unconditioned. As we go deeper into the somatic field, into the unconscious layers of mind, integrating. Simply by observing. The key to this practice is to remain equanimous with whatever is arising. So it's not about achieving anything in the future, not trying to find some state. All states are impermanent. All sensations, as we let go of our preferences, bliss may start to arise, or energy may start to arise within the body. This bliss is also impermanent. It's just a natural byproduct of the practice. We can just notice the mind's tendency to be either dissatisfied or satisfied with what is. Just letting go of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Just notice the awareness that is aware of that habit pattern of the mind. Just resting as awareness, just allowing the sensations, allowing energy to circulate freely if that's what it wants to do. You could say allowing a free flow of sensation with the expansion and contraction of the breath. Just notice the awareness that is present in this moment. Awareness is just pure consciousness. pure non-resistance or pure equanimity. When we become aware of awareness, there's nothing for the mind to do. The mind doesn't create equanimity. The mind doesn't cultivate equanimity. Simply becoming aware of the awareness that is always already present. Who you are is already that. Who is aware of the mind? Who is aware of the sensations? The mistake of the mind, or the delusion of the mind, is that we have to do something to be free. That something has to be healed or purified. But our awareness, our primordial consciousness, has never been in prison. It's always already free. It's just that my sense of I has become identified with the character. If I suffer, then I'm identified with this character. So who is aware of that character? Who or what is aware? Notice if there's any tendency for the ego to control the breath. Sometimes the breath can get shallow, and the egoic mind might panic a little bit. It might not trust the body to take the next breath. So the ego will take the breath, reestablishing control. Just notice the tricks of the ego to maintain control of the breath. When we completely let go of the breather, the controller, and sometimes the deeper imprints within the unconscious can come forward. The emotions that have been pushed down or repressed, feelings of fear, or can be feelings of joy, feelings of bliss. So we just remain aware, not attached to any phenomena that's arising. Not attaching any story to anything that is arising. Just having a direct experience of feelings and sensations in the body, without getting caught in any story or narrative, any beliefs. We want to stay with the direct experience of what's happening in the body, the sensations. This is the only thing we're choosing to do in this practice, is to stay directly with the breath, the sensations throughout the body. See if you can stay with the breath single-pointedly, unbrokenly. If the mind generates thoughts, then just allow that to be as it is. Don't generate preferences about the thoughts. Really show up for this moment, having a complete experience of the breath. You may find the subtle touch of the breath throughout the entire body, throughout the system of energy pathways in the body, throughout the whole limbic system, feeling the touch of the breath in every inch, every cell. In the brain, the heart, the belly, there may be a feeling that the belly is breathing, the heart is breathing, the brain is breathing. Just observe. We don't want to manufacture anything. Just observe this moment as it is for you. Just allow the breath to take you. The breath wants to become very subtle. Allow it to take you into stillness. Just be that stillness. If the egoic mind has let go in this moment of control of the breath, then I invite you to directly experience who is breathing, who is breathing. For the last few minutes of the meditation, I invite you to just open your eyes if the eyes are closed, but stay with sensations. Staying with this field of expansion and contraction of the breath. Just letting go of any idea of the boundary of inner and outer. Just allowing the senses to be wide open for the energy to flow freely. So I'm not going to ring a bell to end the meditation. This meditation doesn't have to end, actually. So we can continue. The next part of this session is just to open it up to a question and answer. If anyone wants to connect, speak about the practice, share anything that's coming up in their journey, we can stay aware of this presence. The meditation doesn't have to be something that ends on the cushion. We can take this into life. There was something I read decades ago from actually Eckhart Tolle, and he said, someone asked him, what's the best practice? And he said, if you could just observe the breath for a year, you would make more progress than doing anything else. So this, even though my own practice has become just sitting or a choiceless awareness, this is still something I use almost like weeding the garden, observing the breath, checking in with the body to see if any new samskaras are being developed. So I hope this is something that can be a benefit for you in the future. So I'm just going to, for those who haven't done this before, you can just use the raise hand feature or unmute yourself. And I will, let me just see, I see John Terrell. Hi there.
Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Good, how are you?
This is a wonderful treat to meet you for the first time and to experience this with you.
Good to meet you. Yeah, welcome.
I have been watching your movies. I must have watched them 3 or 4 times, each of them. I am just caught up in them in a way that is regenerating my true nature, which I find just fascinating right now. I may be hesitating in my talk. I have Parkinson's, so I'm just letting you know that I'm a little slow, but I'm there. I'm literally losing my mind so that this body can be used in a different way. But what I wanted to share was my experience today was wonderful. It was like a flow. It's like flowing through from the beginning to the end, just flowing in and out. And each time it went deeper and deeper and deeper. And I will say it went darker, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. The darkness was the void. As I went deeper into the void and I came out, it was a wonderful experience coming out because it was a little jolt and then a kind of sensation that left me with this wonderful awareness of the true nature of what is here. And so I'm blessed by experiencing this with you and everybody else today. And thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. It's so beautiful when we can take these experiences in life, like Parkinson's or other things that we can consider challenging, and turn it into this beautiful exploration to come to realize our true nature. You know, you said, you know, you're losing the mind, but yet, you know, who is aware of that mind? You know, who's aware of that mind? That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, and yeah, it's good to meet you. Thank you.
You too. Thanks, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Alyssa, hi, Alyssa.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you back. I enjoy so much your meditations. Anyway, I would like to share my experience today. It was really great. It was wonderful. It was very deep, yeah. And within this journey, I caught my mind several times within the process, trying to change things, trying to put some visualization of my state of being, which actually I've been trying to avoid, but my mind keeps coming back. And then I noticed very obviously today, it was sort of, I caught it quite often on that. And it was very interesting to see or to experience what when you went into the who is observing the mind. At that point, immediately I felt quite uncomfortable. I think that my ego, I think it was my ego jumping in.
Pretty good bet. Pretty good bet that it was, yeah.
Because my ego doesn't like this type of thing, this type of questioning, I suppose. So it was very interesting. So I experienced through this journey several things that it is important to observe. It is important to be very aware of. And as well, I do appreciate enormously the last part of your last words about observing our lives in daily moments all the time. Because I think that I see my practice is that it's not a question all the time, obviously, that I meditate because I love it. But it's not just a question of sitting in a cushion and try to do all these wonderful, to have these wonderful moments of deep insights. But I think that one thing that I have started to notice quite recently, well, not so recently, but it was not right from the beginning when I started to meditate, it was the fact that I really need to practice this observation, this living in the moment, this be so aware that if I'm doing something with awareness, with love, with care, be all the time in every single moment that I'm living. So this is something that I am incorporated to my practice, and I was very, very glad to listen to your words at the end of the meditation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the meditation, you know, the doing aspect of the meditation is one thing, but yeah, when we introduce the self-inquiry, it's interesting. You mentioned, you know, the ego structure, you know, doesn't like that, and to me, that's the key. You know, a lot of the Vipassana techniques and these different techniques that we use, you know, when we introduce a self-inquiry aspect to it, you know, so who is present, who is meditating, you know, that to me is the key that can really bring it into day-to-day life, because it's that same inquiry that we use to see, you know, who's moving through this life, you know, what are the patterns that are in play, what are you know, what am I doing? What is my Dan character doing? And what, you know, where is that motivation coming from? You know, is it just conditioning that has come from my upbringing, my parents, my motivation. What is that? Or, who is actually living this life? And to me, that is what this practice is all about. It's not about trying to achieve anything on the cushion, but it's simply, the practice on the cushion is, it's a microcosm of life, really. It's not separate from life. It's like practicing. It's like doing the scales in in our piano practice, in order to actually live life and actually play in the world. So, yeah, I appreciate that insight. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to you.
Mm-hmm. I'll go to Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Thank you so much for all the things that you do for all of us. I watched all of your videos and my practice kind of took off once I watched a few times all the Samadhi meditations, and I was doing them on a daily basis as a starting point of my days. And I noticed that at some point after like 6 months, the meditation started permeating all my daily activities, and I felt like I could actually understand every word that you were saying more deeply. My question to you now is, I don't know if this is something that makes sense, but as I went deeper and deeper into the practice, when I sit down to meditate, I almost don't feel anything in my body. I feel like I'm not here. And it's almost like it's beautiful, but it's a bit scary at the same time. It's a point where the meditator dissolves, and you were asking us to focus on the breathing, but I couldn't tell that I was breathing. I could hear the sound, but it's almost like inside everything is it's becoming like one pool of sensations that become more and more subtle every time. So is that I feel like the sense of presence at the beginning, it was very vibrant and very alive. It's almost like starting to disappear. So that's my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, in the practice, yeah, it can get very, very subtle. Some of the teachers, the great teachers like Dogen in the Zen tradition said that, meditation is the dropping off of mind and body. It's the dropping off of mind and body. So at a certain point, it drops off. If things get very subtle, you said you mentioned fear at one point. So so were there? How do you know that fear was present? What is that? What does fear feel like? It can be a very, very subtle mind body connection, but did you have a sense?
It's a sense of not being here, and I ask this question. Okay, so it's not here.
Mm-hmm.
The self-inquiry went deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where I can't just remain in stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And then only when I go deeper into meditation and I feel like there's no reference point,
Mm-hmm.
that the fear arises, because I feel like, okay, now I don't even feel, I can't even hear my breath at sometimes. It's just so subtle and so thin that it's almost like letting go, but letting go of what? Because there's nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the perceived that seems to be there, the nowhere, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing else to hold on to.
So the fear that comes up at that point may be something very subtle. What I would ask is, how do you know that you're experiencing fear? Like, where does that fear live somewhere in the body? And it may be something very, very subtle, just a subtle energetic contraction. But if there's fear, there's still, all of these, emotions or feelings that come up. Like there's often a mental component and a physical component to them. So, might be productive to ask, how do I know that I'm experiencing fear? Well, where does that live in the body? And just see, because there are subtle holding on that the ego will engage in the deeper we go, and sometimes it'll just become apparent. I've had times in my own practice where the breath will go so subtle and shallow, and there is this fear that the ego doesn't like it when it goes really, really quiet or drops off, because it feels like where it wants to keep itself alive. So there's this impulse that's there to stay alive, and that's connected to that fear. So sometimes, I've had times in my practice where I've noticed that there is this subtle sort of fear permeating the body, or a subtle holding, a subtle resistance in the body. And it's only when I really drop down to those deeper levels that it can become apparent. So I would just say, just don't miss anything, no matter how subtle it may be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's great. Great report. As we go deeper in the meditation, the highest samadhi, or the deepest sort of evolution of the practice, is when the mind and body drop off. There's just pure awareness present. So the less doing, the less phenomena in the meditation, I would say, the more we're actually actualizing the process, which it's a bit of a paradox, because it's really just being here now. It's not like some goal that happens in the future. The end result of truly meditating is to show up here and now, so that there's no thing that happens in the future. Even the mind body dropping off, what's revealed is the presence or awareness that has been here all along. So it's not like something new comes, but it's just the distraction and phenomena of the mind that we were focused on has gone silent, and then that awareness that is ever present can wake up to itself. Essentially, that's all awakening is just not something new, but a recognizing of what we always already are. Yeah, thank you. We'll go to Aaron. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, and
Yeah, how are you?
I'm overwhelmed. Thank you for your meditations and guidance. And my question is that I watched one of your inquiries. You were inquiring into the mind, taking mind as meditation object, and you said that attention and what takes away attention are two different things. And whenever I practice anything, this component comes in, like something takes away my attention. Even if I ask that who is taking away this attention, but it comes up again and again. Like I can't concentrate. And also, I have talked to you on Circle community, ATW. I'm on SSRI. I came into SSRI because now I think I understand. I was like throwing away all the egoic activities, and everything was not making sense. And this constant terror, not fear, just terror inside me was coming up, like from simple things. Like I had to tell this thing to someone, like there was my girlfriend. So, and the fear was there that if I don't tell her, like I don't know what will happen. It was just completely unreasonable. Then I went to the doctor, and he gave me SSRI fluoxetine for OCD. He gave me, and I take it, but sometimes I don't take it. but they say that you should take it, and I reduce my dosage according to my need. I don't know what I should do about it. These were the two questions: attention and this SSRI.
Yeah, I remember the conversation from the circle group. Yeah, so this is an interesting challenge, when the mind is really generating a lot of thoughts. And yeah, sometimes there can be something physiological, sometimes it so yeah, it can be very tricky to navigate. So, the part about what the medication that you're on, that's one thing, but always we can become aware of the awareness, regardless of if we're on medication, no medication, mind is busy, mind is still. There's someone, an awareness that is present, that is aware of all of that. So in your practice, when the mind is very busy, you described a terror that was coming up. So who experiences that terror that is coming up? Who are you? There's a part of you watching, aware of that mind, experiencing that terror. So who is that that's aware of the mind?
And the terror came up before medication. After the medication, the terror doesn't come up. But I think that was a dissolving of some ego. But I took the medicine. I think I shouldn't have taken that time. I didn't used to meditate. I used to meditate earlier. I watched all of your videos 10 years ago when I was 22 years old. I'm sorry, 20 years old or something. So then I watched all of you, but I didn't understand many things, and also there were no great teachers. At my age group, I am right now like 30 years. So in my age group, I am from India, so no one is there to meditate or any diet partners or anyone. So then after the meditation, then I remembered your videos, and then I saw that you have put 4 videos, hindrances, breath as a bridge, prana, and nirvikalp samadhi. And I watched those videos and did the meditation. And also one anonymous community in Himalayas. I did that one also. I didn't go to retreat yet, or Vipassana you had told me through. But, and
So
thank
yeah, so are you experiencing the terror now when you meditate? Like today, did you experience that?
No, right now I don't experience, but this part, that attention and what takes away attention, like little bit absent-mindedness. Don't know it's because of when I drop down my medication, then like I am aware, I'm very much aware better, and
Yeah.
uh,
So I
that's
would just share, like in my own practice, and from what I have observed in others as well, the ego structure, as we go deeper into meditation, it's not the same for everyone, but for a lot of people and for myself, the ego structure can experience terror. It can experience this. If we're really letting go in the meditation, it's a natural part of meditation. But that terror, the ego feels like it's dying or something terrible is happening, but it's really,
yeah,
it's just a losing control. The ego doesn't, it's unfamiliar, it's losing control. Nothing bad is really happening, but it's no longer in that control over whatever it is we're doing, if it's the breath or just sitting. So my experience is that when I first experienced that terror in my own practice, the ego really didn't want to meditate after that. It really didn't want to go back to it. But I realized that is just a letting go. That ego has to
mm,
sometimes go through that, and there can be the more times we go through that letting go process, the easier it gets as well. Usually, the first few times it happens, it can be very powerful, but
Yeah,
it loses its charge over time. The more times we experience it, and sometimes we'll be fearful. The ego will fear that terror. It'll fear having
yeah,
to experience that. But my experience is that over time it gets less and less, and it's more like like jumping into an ocean where there can still be a sensation, or there's like this something that happens, like a shudder almost, that happens sometimes through the self structure, but that wave gets less and less the more we do it. So
yeah. I surrendered, and many fears like flipped, and the same sensations became like I should not define good or bad, but the sensation became blissful or something like the same, and then it dropped away and went. Many things, many fears have went away,
Mhm.
and it has really helped.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and
That's a huge insight. So that bliss that came when we do just let go, it's I sometimes describe it like being on a roller coaster. If we're hanging on, then it's not a pleasant experience. But then when we let go, it actually is incredibly
yeah, yeah,
blissful. That's
yeah,
here is bliss. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. Just like like in seconds, the neuroplasticity changed a few times. Just like in second, the same fearful and just like it's okay and went away. Like in seconds, the like mind changed from various things. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, good,
And
good. Well, it sounds like you're getting some insights, some deep insights. Yeah, it's great.
yeah. Sometimes I also like go haywire or
Hmm.
still on the path. I don't know. And yeah. One more question. Like. You said like doing nothing, and there are various like in Himalayas, various guru or whatever, enlightened beings, like they don't do anything, just like they sit for years, or like they eat a little bit, but they have no like presence in the world, in this world or Maya. You can and like Krishnamurti said, you said that Krishnamurti said that something that has to be relevant to the life, like and to have find the purpose of life, like for some purpose or divine will that we don't exactly know everyone's will, but we have to know our will, like, and do that by following our bliss. So
Hmm.
like how should I follow and where should I stop the question, like who wants this, like some divine will came to me, and if I have to question again, then is that another ego formation about that bliss?
Mm.
Like something came, like you should marry someone, and then I should question who is wanting that, and it's
Mm.
like another.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. Following your bliss to me is, it's not like a problem to be figured out with the mind. So it's not, the analytical. So the mind, right now, the mind wants to know, like, how do I do it? How do I control it? But to me, it's much simpler. It's more direct than that. It's more childlike. It's more like when you're a little kid, when you play with a toy, you don't ask, is this my purpose to play with the toy? Is this, is
Okay,
this
okay.
what God wants of me? Is this, that's the mind trying to figure it out. So to me, you just do it. The energy just goes to it. It's just a natural thing. And and the energy will keep moving. Sometimes we'll move towards something, we have to explore it, but that's not the right thing, so we move away. So the energy is always exploring, always moving.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
not always just one thing. It's like, this is my purpose, and to me, our purpose is to just be, like really just be. That's our true purpose, which it's not something we have to do. We already are. So then the rest of it is just a free play of energy. And yeah, we don't have to turn it into a problem. It can be very,
Yeah.
very simple. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Anna. Hi there.
Hello, Dan. I am not good enough. I've been working so many years on this feeling. Now it's a bit better than before. However, I am noticing that when I recommend myself or I introduce myself by profession, I feel that I am a bit ashamed, somehow hiding myself, feeling not worthy. I feel I cannot open myself in front of the people. Who is actually not good enough? Who is trying to hide? Who is feeling that very subtle sense of shame?
That's the question. Yeah. Do you have the answer?
The ego.
Yeah.
But why would ego feel ashamed? I mean, the ego usually is feeling very powerful, and but why he feels the shame? Why he feels not good enough?
It's a good question. I think it's different for different people. I've seen, like in psychology, there may be something learned, from the parents or, teachers. Maybe, if there's like a reward system that is put in place in the ego structure. So, we're trying to please the parents, we're trying to please, but maybe they're never pleased, or or it becomes a habit pattern, to try and get validation outside. So whatever it is, it doesn't really even matter, for you, for the true you, because there's someone aware of that whole habit pattern, that whole character. So who is that is aware of the mind, watching that character, watching all of its processes. So, like who are you in this moment? Are you the character, or are you aware of the character? There's something outside of it, able to look at it and observe its pattern. So, so if you're watching that character, then who are you that's watching? Who's watching that show?
The true self is watching, it's seeing everything. I see the ego being a bit ashamed, trying to hide it, but I don't really know what to do with that. To allow it to be, or to love it, or to accept it, or it is actually my father. As a child, I've been hearing all the time, "You could not good enough, not good enough. That is not good. It is not good. It is for nothing." This voice now it's much less than before, but it's still now it's very subtle and like even more harmful than before. Before, at least, it was very open, very very loud, but now it's very subtle.
Do you feel, so when that not good enough, where does that live in the body? Do you feel that in the body somewhere? Is there a sensation connected to that not good enough? Is there a contraction or a resistance in the body? That could be something to explore.
It's sorrow, it is pain. Yeah, it's like injustice. No, it's not true. How can you say? I've been trying to do so many things to prove otherwise. Now I am tired and it is like nonsense. I see no need to prove anything to anyone, but still unconsciously in this repetitive trial to
So
prove.
the way we become free of these these patterns, these samskaras, whatever you want to call them, if we can allow ourselves to really get good at feeling them, first of all, feel where not good enough is in the body. We want to get better at feeling, so feel that sorrow, have a complete experience of the sorrow, but without going into the mind, so the mind will want to create a story, and the story, the beliefs are what keep it going, so if we stay in the sensation, having a complete experience of the sensation, then the energy can arise and pass away. Then the sensations, all sensations are impermanent. But if we believe the thought, or we indulge the thought, then that will keep that pattern going in the unconscious. So I would say, have a complete experience. We want to get there. There's a saying, we want to get better at, it's not about feeling better, but it's about getting better at feeling, so we want to get rid of that sorrow. The mind wants to resist it, but the paradox is, the more we allow it, the more we just have a complete experience of it, we become free. So, the way in is the way out,
Yes, you're right. Now I am seeing it, that I thought I accept, but actually I was resisting it. So I will immerse now in this feeling of, okay, I'm not good enough. Okay, so what? Let's see what's going on.
Good. So yeah, and it's good. You're honing in on, that the thoughts aren't true, the beliefs aren't true. So you can just drop the thoughts, and then just stay with the feeling, just allow it to be as it is, and then it'll eventually, the energy will just move. And if we have no preference, then we don't feed it. We just allow everything, and it's that equanimity it's really what our true nature is. It's only the ego that has the preferences, and it keeps those patterns going in the unconscious.
And do you know what I've realized right now? It's very nice to feel that you are indeed not good enough. It's nice.
It's perfect.
It's free. It makes you free. Okay, I'm not good enough. So what?
It's beautiful. Beautiful. So what? Yeah. So what? What does it have to do with you?
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I add something here? Yeah. Hello, ma'am. You accepted. I was going to say this only, that you should accept, like, whatever is coming up. You are not good enough. So accept it. But right now you are feeling blissful, and some energy is flowing, very much happy and blissful you are feeling. And after that, few more ego will come up about this thing only. They might come up one day or next day, but that also you should accept. You should not go back to no, I am okay. Mind might give you some another reason that look at this, you should be enough, but you have to just flow it. 4 5 ego might come up after this, like I'm not good enough, I will not earn much, or something like that. Anything can come up. You should accept everything, and it will just subside.
And right now is coming my father's image, and I am so grateful for him telling me so, telling me that I'm not good enough. And it's so I'm grateful to him that he said it.
That's beautiful. You know, one of my teachers said when we have gratitude for our pain, you know, the things that we think are obstacles are actually the things that take us deeper. And you know, the things that we want to get rid of are actually the gateway into deeper parts of ourselves. So that's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you again so much to all of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll go to Mamata. Am I saying that right? Yeah.
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 Thanks, Dan. Thanks so much for your service and for videos. And tried some of the Samadhi meditations. It really takes. The question I have is, think this is what I've been hitting all along, or again, it might be my mind just doing it. When I keep my eyes open, right, and I even acquire or anything to do with going to the next level, eyes force close,
Can
eyes close,
you repeat that?
eyes, the eyes, they're closing, like even if I don't want to, like, you know, it's like as if I'm tired and it's like they close. So I'm not able to do those, you know, the inquiries, the contemplation, like deep contemplation, other than in meditation, other than sitting. So on a daily basis, in a daily life, I'm not able to fully get it in there because the eyes just close right away. And it's some resistance, I think, and not able to get past.
So just to be clear, so like you know, so if you were to do an inquiry, say while you're eating, you know, or while you're walking, your eyes would just close spontaneously, or
Yeah, whom I'm walking, then I have to stop. Like, I just. But if I'm just like even picking up a paper and saying, "Who am I?" Even if sitting down, but if it's open-eyed meditation, right? If I say, "Who am I?" and just like 2 seconds down the thing, and you start watching it, that's it. So, and I feel like tired. It's not just closing the eyes; it's also like it's a light sleep type of.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a samskara that's coming up. Often tiredness, you know, that's an interesting one. You know, if it happens even in the outer world, you know, when you're doing it, you know, one of the big samskaras that can come up for people is tiredness. So, you know, in that moment, it's a great opportunity. If you know that that's coming up, you could, you know, really notice like who, you know, who is closing the eyes, you know, how, you know, where's the sense of I in that moment? You know, am I closing the eyes, you know, or am I aware? Am I the awareness of that? You know, so it's a perfect opportunity actually. If you know that that's happening, you know, the tiredness, you know, the tiredness is, you know, the body, you know, if you can track the tiredness, feel where the tiredness is, you know, what is that tiredness? Is there a heaviness in the eyes? Is there an
That's right. Usually here only.
Yeah, so just make it completely conscious, you know, what's happening, you know, what energetically is happening in the body, but inquire, you know, who's closing the eyes? Who am I in this experience? You know, am I that physical body that's tired, you know, or am I aware of that body? So yeah, it's you know, when these things come up in our practice, they're you know, they're often described as hindrances. You know, the tiredness is typically a hindrance, but to me, those hindrances are the very thing that can take us deeper into our practice. So if you really make it conscious, you know, what all is happening when the eyes close and that heaviness in the eyes comes, you know, then yeah, that's the perfect moment to inquire. You know, because we know, you know, the great teachers have told us, you know, I'm not just this limited character, I'm not this limited body. So who am I? You know, if I'm not this tiredness, you know, is it true? Am I tired, or am I aware? Is awareness tired? You know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
It's a wild journey for sure. I've been going through, how are you doing?
Oh, great. Wonderful.
I'm going through a lot of the, I guess the best word would be vanishing experiences.
Mm.
And it does very much feel like you're jumping off of, or someone's forcing you to jump out of a plane and you're just like in complete resistance. But I'm guessing that because you're here with us today, you've had several of those experiences and you've survived. So what can you describe about that, like complete letting go, that would be helpful to us?
Mm. Yeah, I think, you know, letting go is such an interesting thing, you know. So the one thing I've realized over many years is you can't tell someone how to let go, you know, because the mind that hears it thinks, okay, this is how I let go, you know, and thinks there's some thing that it has to do in order to let go. But whatever the mind thinks it has to do to let go is not letting go. It's just another control mechanism of the mind. So it's tricky, you know, the letting go. You know, all we can do is surrender, or, you know, like even saying surrender, it's just a word. So, you know, to me, all we can do in these situations is recognize what's in play, you know, recognize the situation with the mind, where the mind is, you know, the mind is already mediating, the mind is already controlling. But when we make that conscious, then, you know, there's a natural sort of dismantling that happens. And, you know, I think the one thing I would say is to just recognize the fundamental delusion of the mind, which is what I always talk about, is that it needs to do something, you know, that it needs to mediate this in some way. And, you know, the mind thinks, you know, this letting go will lead to something, you know, it'll lead to some state or something that's going to happen. But the truth of who and what we are, you know, is ever present. You know, the fundamental delusion is that I'm not free. You know, it's
Okay.
the fundamental delusion is that I'm this character that thinks it's in prison, that needs to do something to get out of prison. But awareness, you know, our primordial awareness was never in prison. So the whole thing is about, you know, it's a case of mistaken identity. You know, my sense of I is on this character that thinks it has to become free, but the character never becomes free. You know, the Patrick never becomes free. It's we wake up from the illusion that I'm Patrick or that I'm Dan. You know, the awakening is awakening from that character. So that's the, you know, that's the big picture. And then, you know, there's the actual meditation where the character is going to try and surrender. It's going to try and do something. It's like we need to keep stirring the pot until that realization is fully there, you know, that awakening actually happens. So, you know, when we awaken, we realize everything the little character was doing to try and surrender was sort of futile. you know, but yet we have to still go through that dance in order to somehow, you know, there's this alchemy that happens, or this something, you know, the conditions are right for that awakening to happen. You know, through our sadhana, we make the self structure more permeable. So you know, it's an interesting conundrum for the mind, you know, because the mind knows it can't do it, but yet the mind is still there as this mediator, you know. So it's this gradual sort of dissolving, and then, you know, when we wake up, we realize nothing actually had to happen, you know, that awareness was ever present.
I really appreciate what you said today, where you mentioned, where does the unworthiness feel in the body? And that's a very powerful insight, because most of the time we're so identified with that sensation, and that's really all it is. It's something trapped within the neck, it's something trapped within the hips, something trapped within the lower body. And if that wasn't present, that sensation, we wouldn't identify with it, regardless as whether or not it has happened in the past. So I guess I have, that was my question for today, and then two simple things to share. One was I recently heard a fact, and I just re-looked it now, and I'll just read it online. So the fact is in regards to our existence and the odds of being alive. So the odds of us being alive, according to this fact from Science Alert, is 1 in 400 quadrillion. So, but we're just getting started. And it's really, really short. It says, because your existence here now and on the planet presupposes another supremely unlikely and utterly undeniable chain of events, namely that every one of our ancestors lived to reproductive age, going all the way back, not just to the first Homo sapiens, first Homo erectus, and Homo habilis, but all the way back to the first single-celled organism. You are a representative of an unbroken lineage of life going back 4 billion years. And I read that and I'm just like, oh my goodness, to think that we're all here from the first spark of creation, and it's all just different spirals coming out of that. That first seed is unbelievable. So I just want to say, it's great to see you at this spiral. It's great to meet you at this time and in time and space. And the last thing I wanted to share was this picture that I have as my background. And it's the greatest conversation ever had. And it's Paramahamsa Yogananda and Babaji, Sri Yukteswar and Anandamai and Krishna and Jesus. And they're all saying absolutely nothing. They're just being. I just wanted to share that. It's like we often get lost in conversation with the ego, and these are just the spiritual masters just being around the campfire. So thank you, Dan. Thank you for this talk. I really felt it today, and it was nice connecting with you again.
Great to see you, Patrick. Yeah. I love that image. I love how they're just all sitting in silence, and that's the greatest teaching. And then, if you think about those beings, you can't imagine them all just sitting there chatting and just like noisy. It's like their essence is in that stillness, and that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go to Jeno. Is that correct? Yeah. Oh, I think you're.
Yes, it's good enough. I just wanted to add a few words. I'm very happy to be part of this conversation, and we are very blessed. and just to hear you guys talking, it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Dan, for your work, and God bless you all. Thanks.
Thank you. So I'm going to I noticed, John, do you still have your hand up? Do you still want to say something, or?
Yes, I was going to, but I know we're running to the end, so I thought I would let it go. But I'll leave you with one thought. As I listen to this, which there's such a pureness about this gathering. You emit a softness into our discussion that is so beautiful to be part of. And I want to praise you for that, because it's so important that we find this sacred space to have these kinds of conversations. It's so important going forward for all of us to know that we can stand in a sacred space and feel that around you as you have your conversations. But I will leave you with, I realized that I was observing the observer, and that effectively what was happening for me was the observer was the ego, and the ego was observing the ego. And as I got further into it, I realized that the ego could disappear by looking at it and talking to it itself, and realized that it was going nowhere but around in circles. And once it came to realize that the ego does not exist, because the mind creates an ego and gives it justification. The ego can disappear just as quickly as it appeared if you observe that it is the ego. And the letting go is as easy as that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, John. Thank you. What you're saying is one of the key insights that comes during self-inquiry. You know, when we do our intensives at the center, one of the things that I like to say, it actually I got it from Ken Wilber. Actually, he said something that really landed with me one time. He said that the witness is the last holdout of the ego. The witness, the last holdout of the ego. So this idea of the witness, you know, the ego watching itself. You know, we have this intention to know ourself, you know, but at the beginning, it's always the ego. We're identified with the ego. So what we see is this apparent duality of this witness and what is being witnessed. And as long as there's this sense of a witness and what we're witnessing, there's this split, there's this duality. And it's exactly what you're saying, you know, that letting go or disappearance of the witness, you know, what remains is us. It's the true self that remains. So there's no more this split of observer and observed. And so if we stay with our inquiry, you know, and really explore that, really come to know ourselves, that witness, or, you know, whatever we call it, the word, you know, sometimes we'll say the witness or the observer, or even awareness or consciousness. Usually when we use those words, you know, if there's awareness of or consciousness of something, then there's still that split. So these concepts, you know, we have to go beyond the concept to the direct experience of who we are in the moment. And yeah, you shared that beautifully. That's really a key insight that we come to at these retreats, by, you know, creating conditions of no escape for the ego, where, you know, it's forced to sort of look at itself until it, you know, something gives. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Well, thanks everyone. It's
Thank you,
amazing to see everyone here. And yeah, I'll see some of you. If you don't know about it, we have an online community that I think a lot of you I know have already connected with it. But if you go to awakentheworld.com, there's a sign up link on there. It's a new thing. We've got a lot happening on there. So yeah, I'll see you around on that community, and I'll see you here in a month's time as well. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan.